Hello YouTubers, welcome to my video. I'm going to show you how I fixed my daughter's MacBook charger. As you can see in the video at the end, I think it's just a bad design from Apple where over time, you know, the cord is bent, and even when you wrap it around those holders, it still gets frayed and damaged, right, to the point that it was broken, right? Now these are really expensive to replace. Typically, I suppose you can get them used, but typically new they cost at least $100, which is just crazy for a power charger for any sort of notebook, right? So anyway, so it's definitely worthwhile fixing it versus buying a new one. So here we go. I'm going to attempt to fix this, and I'm going to show you how I did it. I'm going to attempt to use solder. I don't think I have the right solder, but I'm going to use some solder anyway, just to try and make a more of a solid connection. But I'm more of an electrical tape type guy anyway, so I'm definitely going to be using electrical tape and just generally, you know, tying the ends together, right? So as you can see, I've just basically cut the cable and I've stripped it. So you can see there's an outer layer of I guess it's like a wire mesh that goes around the actual inside cable, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to basically take that. Do two cuts here, right? Is I'm going to strip the inside wire, of course, so when you get access to that, and then I'm going to use the outside wire as part of that connection, right? So all you need to do is basically create two wires here, right? So here we go. So let me just I mean, if you don't have a wire cutter, just use a knife or anything to actually strip the wire. You don't actually need a wire stripper here, but if you do, just use any kind of, you know, Stanley knife, whatever you have access to. Okay, as you can see, I've got now two nice clean cuts here and two of the similar sized pieces of wire. That's the one side of things taken care, and now we're gonna take the other side. Now, I did see some videos where you rip the thing open, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna have to rip the thing open, and I ultimately did. But before you do that, if you had a similar frayed wire like I did, you don't actually have to rip it open. I actually wanted to keep there's that connector that actually holds the wire in place, and I didn't really want to desolder the board or anything. So you actually don't have to do this part unless you want to replace a wire. If you have another adapter with an older cable and you have two cables, then yeah, go ahead and just rip it open. Just be careful, it does sort of crack it open, and I've seen people try and or suggest you super glue it back together, right? Which I probably don't think is a great idea, because if you ever wanted to open it again, you couldn't, but well, not easily. So don't open this unless you really have to. I'm going to actually leave it in there, and you're going to see what I did is I actually just cut off the sort of rubber end of the cable, and I just used that. Not the best way to do it, because the cable's not really that long. I mean, that little rubber piece isn't very long, but it did exactly what I needed to do. It gave me just enough cable that I could actually do a twist turn on the cable and then wrap it up, right? So don't open it unless if you have another cable. Unless you have another cable, save yourself doing that or breaking it. Just cut, as you can see, I'm just cutting the little rubber stem on this kind of holder off, because I thought, you know, maybe I can keep that plastic a bit in place, and that'll just provide the extra durance on instead of ripping it out and then you have to glue it in or something crazy like that. So I'm just gonna cut the little rubber piece, and I'm gonna rip it off, and then we're gonna move on. Okay, now that I've stripped the cable, and I'm going to show you this in a sec, you'll see I've just got enough. It's probably about a quarter of an inch, just enough to actually tie it in and try and solder it, and that's what I'm going to do next, right? So, and then I'm going to just put the actual adapter back together again. So just enough cable, not great, but it'll do. Okay, now that I'm done with the solder as best I can, I mean the solder doesn't really stick that well, so, but maybe you need specific solder that you can use. But anyway, so I think I got enough to make a good connection, and now I'm going to use electrical tape to tie it down as best I can. So try and get hold of white electrical tape, obviously, then you hardly notice the tape on the adapter. But if you don't, then maybe use whatever tape you have and then go get some white at some point. And just cover it. But anyway, so white obviously makes sense here because you can hardly see it and notice it, versus black tape, for instance, that's going to probably just stick out, right? So, but any tape will work. So electrical tape just sticks really nicely. So just kind of be careful. Just obviously, you know, put it on best you can and then make sure it's tight. I tried to actually burn the tape a little bit to see if I could melt it around the thing, but the other thing I've seen people use is shrink tube. I don't have any shrink tube, so if you do have shrink tube, then put that on before you obviously make the connection, and then you could use shrink tube to just kind of mount it and make it more secure. But anyway, so we're going to put electrical tape, and I'm going to wrap the whole thing, and I'm actually going to wrap the cable kind of around the side so it gives it extra strength, and you know, you don't, if you do drop it or pull it by accident, you don't rip it out. So I'm going to make it as secure as possible, so hopefully the adapter will last until the end of the life of the notebook. So, well, there you go. At the end of this, I will show you it working. I'll grab my Mac Air and then I'll plug it in, and you can actually see it's working. And I did this probably 5 days ago since I made this video. And it's working just fine still, so it's all good to go, I think. And just make sure you have as best solid connection as you can, and then make sure that cable's as secure as possible so you don't rip it, and then obviously never pull the cable, and you treat it gently, I guess, right? So anyway, thank you for watching the video. I hope you found it helpful. Enjoy. So here you go. You have the final product, basically all nicely wrapped up and tight, and without any issues. Just one comment: the cable I put a little bit to the end. You don't want to have it right to the end, because when I plugged it in, like the plug that I'm going to use and show you today is fine, but if you try and plug it into a wall, the cable actually kind of bends. So you don't want the cable to bend at all. So just kind of maybe not do it quite to the end there, right? So